Good afternoon. Let's begin with prayer. Father, I just thank you for letting me be here today, Lord. It's such a great privilege and such a great honor to stand here and to preach your word that you've taught to me. Lord, I just ask that you would show me the words to say, that your words would flow through me, that your truth would become alive and that would change someone's life through this humble vessel. Lord, I just ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Today my sermon is about my hero. In today's society, we have a lot of fake heroes. We look around, our kids watch animations or live action stuff about tons of different heroes, but they're all fake. You know, we are amazed by the technology that we are able to produce with such amazing action and stuff, and we get consumed and swept away in these fake heroes, how they beat up and destroy their enemies, and just amazing stuff. And our children look up to these beings. We look up to these fake heroes. We glorify them, we think about them, we talk about them on a daily basis, and they're completely fake. But we begin to even model our lives after them in certain ways, in certain aspects. We begin to talk to them, even pick up their sayings. And whatever they are, might be Japanese heroes, they might be American heroes, whatever they are, but they're all fake. And even the ones that, there might be a few, actually I don't even think there's any real heroes left. I mean, I can't even think of a single one that we can really, that we'd really look up to and begin to model our lives after. We got fake actors, I mean, they live fake lives, and if you ever to look at their entire lives, not my hero. I don't think they're anyone else's hero. I wouldn't want to live their life for nothing. But we got this entire world of fakeness built up, and we got these heroes and desired things that we all kind of want to aspire to be. You know, who doesn't want to be with some dude running around with superpowers blowing away the enemy, wiping out everything that comes his way? And I want to talk about my hero, you know, but who a hero really is, and what's so amazing about a hero. Let me forget when you first asked that question. Well, what's amazing about a hero? Well, how he blows away his enemies, and just action, because that it is to us is naturally. For some reason, especially men, we all desire to fight. Something about us desires to fight. I hear about a policeman abusing his power, or a policeman pulling a person over, and something about inside of me just rises up, and I'm like, show him a thing or two. And it's just, for some reason, that is something that's in us. We desire to fight, and a desire to have power, a desire to, you know, have the ability to destroy that which stands in front of us, to bust through. Especially for us men. I can't really speak for women, but I know the desire for us men to really open up a can of butt whoop on somebody. That's what we desire for a lot of times. And that's just our basic nature. And so when we watch these heroes in modern time, fake heroes, something reaches down to something inside of us and makes us go, rah, yeah, it's good. But it's fake, and it's not true. And then we begin to really think that the Bible is boring, and you know, because it just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that amazing grasp to us. And the things of God become pale comparatively to this modern world with the modern technology we have. And it's so hard to really think about the Bible in such a amazing way. But if you were to really look back at the Bible, we have some amazing heroes in the Bible. I mean, we got Noah. I mean, you have people you think Noah's not a hero. Oh, Noah was a hero. He was one of the amazing heroes. We got tons of different heroes in today's society. We got political heroes. We talk about the people who stood up against the political corruption, and all of a sudden, they become something great and overcome the political corruption or something. We got tons of different fake heroes. But if we were to look at the Bible, they have all them same heroes, but they're real. they're completely real. And you got Noah, who was surrounded by nothing but complete wickedness. You think we have wickedness today? You think that we have corrupt government? You think that we have corrupt, just in our local township? Oh my, I don't know about that. That sounds kind of corrupt to me. Quite a few things. And it burns in me. I mean, it's just like, I hear about something and I'm like, well, I was part of that. I know I worked on that for them underneath that. And I know how that turned out. And that wasn't, I'm not going to go there. But there's something inside us that wants to rise up and defeat evil or defeat the things in front of us. But we see as Noah, his life, he stood against it and he built the ark. And underneath all that mocking and jeering, and next thing you know, Noah was right. And it ends up being only his entire family that survives through the flood. Everybody else is wiped out. If you really do a really awesome story on him, you could really make a really good, true story about Noah. I mean, he's an amazing hero. Then we go down the line, Abraham, who leaves his entire world, his entire estate, and walks across the desert. Yeah, that's a kind of I'm not sure you can really make a good, wonderful movie about that, but that's an amazing feat, to leave where you're born and to leave what is around you. And then you go down the line, his children, and then I'll just hop down to Joseph, who is one of my greatest heroes. I mean, Joseph is amazing. I mean, he gets thrown in a pit by his brothers. Then his brothers sell him, and he becomes a slave. And naturally, when I think about becoming a slave, I'm like, there's no way in the world I would let anyone ever tell me what to do. I would never work for anyone like that. No way. And what Joseph did is completely opposite of what we think of heroes today. I mean, if you throw one of our modern day fake heroes into his situation, we would see him open a can of butt whoop in some way or another, and he wipe them all out and then go take care of his brothers. Probably would be the story. But instead, Joseph, he worked his way up the line, being a servant, a slave. He ends up being the ruler over Potiphar's household. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But then his wife comes along, and Potiphar's wife comes along, and Joseph just happens to end up in jail over something he didn't do. Once again, that's kind of like where our modern day heroes open a can of butt whoop and go take care of the evil person that did it to him. But instead, he worked his way up in jail, and takes over jail. And next thing you know, he becomes actually the supreme ruler over the entire world practically, because the knowledge that's given to him. It's a long story. It's many things that happen in there, but for a period of time, he became basically the supreme ruler over the entire world because of the seven-year famine. So Joseph is an awesome hero. And we jump Moses. We got Moses who leads them out of Egypt. God opens a can of butt whoop for him. He does. I mean, completely destroys the Egyptians. That's amazing. When you really think about that, that's an amazing story. And they have made a good movie about that. I mean, I've watched, what is that called? Prince of Egypt. And I really enjoyed that. There's some things but it was amazing to watch God show up in his life and change situations. And then we go down the line, we got Joshua. Now there's an awesome, Joshua and Caleb. Man, that is an awesome, awesome story. I mean, they wipe out an entire nation. Just them and a handful of untrained rabble. They just go in there and they completely wipe out millions and millions of armies coming down on them. You think the story of the 300 is something. Nothing compared to what really happened back in the Old Testament with Joshua. Man, you can read about how the kings of the east, kings of the west, kings, like 15 kings leading entire armies rise up and meet them in a valley and get completely obliterated by Joshua and Caleb's armies. And that's just amazing. Then you go down the line, you look at the judges that comes along, and you look at how the judges rise up and free them. Samson. Everybody knows Samson. Super strong man, running around with a jawbone of a jackass, beating the crap out of people. Yeah. 1,000-man army. One man, jawbone. Just, these are true heroes. Truly amazing heroes. I mean, if you really want something that's amazing, these are heroes. These aren't the fake things we have now. And then we go to David. We jump a big long way into David. Now, David's amazing. He gets a young boy, nobody. He's out there, and a lot of people say he was an illegitimate child of his father. We don't know if that's true or not, but he's basically stuck out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of sheep. He is a nobody. Nothing, nowhere, go nowhere. And his entire life is going to be committed to watching stinky, smelly sheep. But he gets a hold of a reality that the only reason to live is for God. And he gets a hold of God, and he begins a personal relationship with the creator of the entire universe. And next thing you know, he fights a bear and a lion with his bare hands, rips open the just kills, sort of like just Samson, but he's not super strong. He's actually kind of young and wimpy looking. And next thing you know, he ends up in front of Goliath, in front of all the armies. He sees Goliath and says, "I can take him down." Everyone laughs at him, but he goes out there and he beats Goliath up. And then he takes down Goliath, the greatest hero of the Philistines. Now, when we think about that, that sounds pretty cool, but we don't really understand how amazing that really is, because Goliath was a hero. I mean, their modern hero. He was a giant of a man. He probably practically matched the strength of Samson, and what we would think. And he probably could have easily taken, Goliath probably could have easily taken on maybe 20 to 50 people at one time of the Israelite soldiers. And probably even done even more of that, because if he would have had to head ahead of a charging galley with his men behind him, he would have broke fear into the heart of the Israelites. And he broke fear into the heart of the Israelites for 40 days. 40 days he'd stand out there and defy them with the horriblest, mean, nasty curses he could. And not a single one of the Israelites would stand up and go, "Oh, beat this guy." No, they were afraid of this man. And here comes along this young kid, and boom, nails him with a slingshot between the eyes and then cuts off his head. That's pretty amazing. But that's not the end of David's life. David ends up becoming the general, and they begin, the woman sing, "David has slayed his 10,000s and Saul his thousands." No, it's Saul his thousands and David his 10,000s. And next thing you know, Saul is upset with this. Well, I can understand that. And Saul wants David dead. No longer is Saul the king. He's just some dude that slayed his thousands, and David is 10,000. So Saul wants David dead, and David has to run for his life. And he spends so many years of his life out there running away from Saul with his band of thieves, practically, people that have been rejected from society, band of misfits. And he's still doing good. He's still doing amazing things. And next thing you know, Saul dies because he goes to a peeper. That's what they call him. They go and talk to the dead. And he gets some crazy witch to drum up Samuel, which isn't Samuel at all, at least in my beliefs. It doesn't tell us if it was actually Samuel, but I don't believe it was Samuel. And Samuel tells him that you're dead. And sure enough, his heart fails, and he walks out in the battlefield and gets completely obliterated, and then falls on his own sword and kills himself. Yeah, and that's what listening to the wrong sources would do to you. I firmly believe that if he hadn't done that if he would have kept his stiff upper lip, that he might have still survived that battle, and his sons would have definitely not died. Almost every single one of his sons died in that battle because his heart was broken, and they tried to pick up their father's slack. But then David, now he becomes king. He becomes king over the entire Israel nation. But he doesn't end there. He begins to open a can of butt whoop on all the nations around him and takes over the entire border. If you look at it, he actually takes over the entire land that God told Moses that they were to take. He is the first and only person to take the entire land that they were supposed to have. So David ends up being one awesome man. And then everybody wants to focus on his downfall, Bathsheba. That's just mankind, sadly. But we look at these heroes. These are true heroes. And then we look at throughout the history of our history. We got heroes. We got in America. We have George Washington, who had 3 horses sat underneath him and 15 bullet holes through his shirt, and never once hit. He led all this stuff. Led the I think that was the American Indian Revolution. He became the first president of America. I think I'm getting that right. If I'm getting the wrong one, I always get George Washington. No, it's Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I always get George Washington and Abraham Lincoln mixed up. Anyway, no, Abraham Lincoln's the Civil War. Anyway, but we got Joan of Arc, and we go back through the history, and there's all these amazing actual heroes that are real heroes. And almost every single one of these amazing real heroes are heroes because of one thing. They get a hold of the reality of God. They get a hold of the reality, and they have a personal relationship with God, a complete relationship with God. And it changes the lives of people around them. It changes their life, and they become supernatural heroes. But they're my heroes. When I look back at them, for a long time, David was like my end-all, be-all hero. But when I really began to look at what a hero, the greatest hero of them all, Jesus. When we think, well, that Jesus is not a hero. He didn't really beat anyone up. He wasn't all that amazing. It wasn't all that cool in modern term. And this is a reality. In modern term, no. Jesus was practically almost a loser. I mean, heck, he died. He was killed by his enemies. He never really did destroy his enemies. But if we were to literally look at Jesus' life and begin to realize some things that are amazing, I just began to look at them. I have always desired to have powers, superpowers of some sort in my life, just because it's something I always wanted. It's stupid, I know. Anyway, but I always desired that to take care of the corruption that infiltrated my nation. In our own local area alone, the corruption is thick. I hear stories on a daily basis about wicked things that happen because the wicked people are in control and power. And I've always wanted to, God give me superpowers, and I'll go out and make public their sins and have them thrown in jail or some such, and put them out of power, then go all the way up the line and basically clean house with superpowers or something, bring down God's judgment upon them, and clean up the nation. But what Jesus did is so much more amazing than that. Jesus was God in the flesh. And when we first see his superhero thing that he ever did that was amazing, superhero, definitely. First thing that really amazes me is when he was 40 days in the wilderness, the devil comes to him. The devil himself comes to tempt one man. We have glorified the devil to extreme powers in the modern church, in the modern day in society. Or we mock him, one of the two. But the devil himself comes to tempt one man. And the first one's not so big of a thing, make bread, make food. For me, I'd be like, well, I'll just make food. I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. But Jesus knows better than that, and he says, man shall not live by bread alone. But the next thing you know is showing off his superpowers. The devil tells him to throw himself down off the temple. Well, if Jesus had done that and he floated off the ground, everybody would have known who he was. He would have appeared just like people thought he would have in the scriptures. And Jesus would have been able to then to raise an army, lead it, and take out the wicked Rome at the time. And he would have been an amazing superhero in our eyes. But no, he said, "Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God." Instead of using the power that God had given him to gain power, to gain influence, the easy way, he said no. And then the devil tempts him with bowing down to him and give him complete control over the earth. Well, how many? For first thought, that's like, nah, Jesus wouldn't do that. But when you really think about that, how many of us, we were offered the exact same thing? I mean, in total reality. If someone with the power and influence, like the devil, came to us and said, if you just kind of bow to me and kind of just listen to some of the things I say, I think I can fix you up. You might just end up being the ruler of the world. What do you say? I don't want to be the ruler of the world myself. You can be the ruler of the world. What do you say? And he has the power to do it. Ruler of the world. I can straighten up the world and make it in my own image. No longer will there be corruption. I'll crack down on corruption. I'll crack down on all these wicked people, and I'll make everybody live a happy life. I'll have to get rid of zoning. I'll get rid of taxes, and I'll get rid of the debt. No longer will I let the people put the money in their own pocket. And these are just all my own pet peeves, Daniel's pet peeves. I hate the pork. I hate the pocket stuffing. I hate all that stuff. Because for me, it's just selfish. And in my own eyes, if someone offered me to be the ruler of the world instantly, real easy right off the bat, no fighting, no nothing else, and next thing you know, I'm the ruler of the world. I have supreme power, no death, no destruction, and then I can begin to clean up the world rightfully. It's really a big temptation. Not that I would take it. At least I can say that I won't take it now. But if it were really to happen, I might. Pray to God I didn't. But the devil's offering Jesus this. But Jesus doesn't even blink an eye. He says, nope. This is the only worship one God, the Lord thy God. And so the devil flees from him. Well, he's a moron. Won't take power, won't do nothing. So then we see Jesus' life. And we got to understand something about Jesus. He had the Spirit without measure. And we think, we don't realize what that means because he didn't actually use that power he was given in such a way we would think. In the Old Testament, when Joshua was fighting, we talked about this a few minutes ago, when Joshua was fighting, God poured out his power multiple times. The hailstones that killed thousands of his enemies. The rising of the seas, the stopping of the sun, just tons of different miraculous things that happened that wiped out entire armies for the Israelites. And for the judges too. All of a sudden the ground became mud, destroyed their chariots, which were like the tanks. Imagine you have a million-man army coming at you, and they have so many tanks, and next thing you know, the entire ground underneath them turns into mud, and they get stuck in the mud. And now the people have to get out of the tanks and charge you, but they're in a giant mud pit, and basically becomes a slaughter. Jesus had the Spirit without measure. He could have done any of those amazing things and much, much, much more that happened in the Old Testament. He could have made that stuff look like playing games. The 10 plagues that came upon Egypt, nothing compared to what Jesus could have brought down upon his enemies. Nothing. But instead what Jesus does is he goes around and heals people. He goes around and uses the power that he's been given to heal people. And these people, he knows, because he knows what's going to happen in the future, are going to turn on their back and say, crucify him. But instead, he goes around and he begins to heal people. He uses that massive power that he's been given to heal people. And this is a sign of a true hero. This is, I can't even comprehend that. It's just, to me, it's amazing that he's been given all this power, and he goes around and heals people that later on in their life are going to stand up and say, crucify him. But he goes around and he begins to heal people, begins to teach and preach and preach and teach, and then eventually comes to the point where he feeds the 10 to 5,000. And after he feeds them, the people, he now has the favor of the people. They rise up and say, let's make him king. Now, if we were looking at this, now it makes sense. Jesus healed all them people. He went through it the harder way. He went through it to get all the people with him. He didn't need their help, but he won the heart of the people. He really did. He won the heart of the people. And now they're going to make him king. All right, go Jesus. And so now Jesus will have all these people, all the Israelites will rise up, the entire religious world will back him, and he's going to go wipe out the Romans, and he's going to seat himself the kingdom of the world. He's going to sit on be the king of the world. He's going to do this. But instead, Jesus goes up on a mountain, sends the people away, and then secretly walks across the water to get away, instead of becoming the king of the world. Instead of wiping out all the evil corruption, because Rome was nothing but a mass of wickedness and filth. You can't even begin to think about how wicked Rome was at that time. There's stories about later on after Jesus' death, how when the current, I think Caesar Augustus or whoever it was that was in power, set Rome on fire. And you look at history and you find out that people, while Rome was burning, were giving themselves into lewdness and wickedness, running around naked and having intercourse with each other, men and woman, woman with woman, and just tons of weird stuff. While Rome is burning, they're trying to get the last bit of their own pleasure in before they burn to death, before Rome goes down around their heads. And if that's not a sign of corruption, I don't know. If everybody's dying around me and burning to death, that's not what I would be doing. Definitely not. And what I would hope none of you would be doing. That's just weird. You're dying, your last day on earth, and the only thing you can think about is, oh well. But yes, so Rome was wicked. Rome was evil. Probably even way more than what we can believe our politicians are. And, everybody, you ask anybody and everybody, our politicians are wicked and evil. Everybody knows they stuff their pockets. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. I've come to the complete full realization that both sides are wicked. I'll just say that. I believe one side's more wicked than the other, but who wants to vote for the lesser of two evils? I want a righteous, I want a holy one. I want something in there that I can really get behind. And Jesus would have definitely been that one, Jesus, he's always going around and he is for the people. He cares about the people, but instead he decides he doesn't want to be king. And he runs off across the river. And to man and natural, we're like, huh? Why? But that's because Jesus was a true hero. He glorified God. And it comes down to, eventually, we follow Jesus' life out. And he stands there, and he is being beat, and eventually he ends up on the cross. And he has all the power in the world. And with one spoken word, he could have wiped out all of them. Boom! We think we see the explosions are amazing on our fake heroes now, the fake stuff that they do. We think they're amazing. But with one word, one spoken word, Jesus could have done all that and more. Boom! Could have rose up, been completely gathered in the most amazing garb, most amazing looking, floating there with, like he is now, with the sword of the word coming out of his mouth, and his eyes shining like fire. He could have been that. With one word, he could have come off that cross, boom, and been like that. But no, instead, he chose to be the true hero, a completely true hero, the really amazing, only true hero there has been, and let himself die by the hands of wicked, corrupted men, shedding his blood so that we can know God on a personal level, that we can have our sins forgiven, that we can be cleansed of those sins. This one song is, I stand in awe of the one who gave it all. That is the most amazing thing in the entire world, is for someone to give it all. Do you realize how hard it is to deny yourself, to deny your own desires, to deny your own pleasures, to deny it all? That is what Jesus did. He had all that power, all that substance, all that raw ability right there within inside him, and he could have used it at any time during his entire life. And he didn't, except for to help and heal people. His disciples even said, so we call down fire upon them, Father, Jesus, so we call down fire upon them. And Jesus looks at him and says, you know not what spirit you're of. And to me, it was just so amazing. If God were to give me power, or I were to gain superpowers, or gain a super suit or something, I don't know, something stupid. I mean, but any of that, if I were to gain that ability, I would want to use that for the furthering of my own gain, what I thought was right, what I wanted, not the helping of others like he did. Definitely not like he did. I mean, for me, the thought of power is to be used, but he used it to help and heal others. And when we look at that, I stand in awe of the one who gave it all. What of our superheroes fake superheroes could truly give up all of they are? I know they have Man in the Iron Suit or whatever he is, supposedly almost gave his life to save New York or whatever from an alien invasion. I'm not certain of the details, and everybody loved that because that is the ultimate thing, to truly give it all. Everybody knows this, but they do not understand this, that to truly deny yourself, to deny your own desires and wants, is the most amazing thing there is. But when we talk about it on a natural basis, on a daily basis, people are like, you're insane, why would I do that? But when it comes down to, in our superheroes, we want them to be able to give it all. And we know that. Naturally, everybody naturally knows that the ultimate superhero is the ultimate to give everything. Now, we don't want them to die. We just want to know that they're capable of that and that they would do that. But that is why Jesus is the ultimate hero. And to me, when you begin to look at him, and as a hero, you want to be like the hero. Your hero, you want to be like your hero. And that's why we have to look at Jesus and realize that he needs to be our hero. If we look at the modern day world's heroes and we try to be like them, we can't. It's fake. It's all fake. Even if technology comes along, it's still fake. And you won't end up being like them, because if you try to be like them, you'll end up being a disaster and you'll end up being a monster. Because in reality, most of those guys are monsters. And we don't want to be like them. We want to be like Christ, who gave it all. The one who gave it all. Jesus is the most amazing person to ever live. He had all that power, had all that ability, had everything. And he chose to give it all, right down to the last single blood drop, into his own heart broke. And then that's just so amazing to me. Then even more than that, we look at God. For me, all right, if I was in the situation that Jesus was in and I had power, man, I would have, boom, and, whatever, and probably try to take down Rome. But then if we look at the situation and we even begin to look at it from God's point of view, his only begotten Son, and he watches people beat up his only Son and do all these horrible things and then kill him in the most unbelievable way. Who of you could stand there and watch your own child be murdered when you know all you have to do is speak one word and you can totally obliterate these people? You don't even have to speak a word. You only have to think a thought. You only have to voluntarily just basically move your finger, just a thought, and you can blow these people away and save your child. If God had given you power and the time, and someone comes and takes your child and goes to kill your child in front of you, would you not use that power to save them? But God chose to let his own Son die on that cross to save us from our own sins, so that we, like his Son, can choose to give it all. This is why Jesus and God are my hero. They're my heroes. The most amazing heroes to ever live, to ever be existence. There is nothing in comparison. If I were given superpowers, unless God did a miracle in my heart, I couldn't possibly do what Jesus did. To stand there and let the corruption around him, to let the evil, even the corruption of the rabbi and what do they call them? The Pharisees of the day. The corruption there. He could have taken authority. He could have wiped out all of them. They were taking the last of the widow mites, so that they may live, the last of the money from the widows. People that have no nothing, the poor. And even they would take their money from them so they could live high and hog and to fluff their garments so they could even become fatter. And Jesus, he spoke against them, but not once did he use his power against them, when he could have easily turned one of those spoken words into complete obliteration, and they would have just completely evaporated right in front of him. If God were to give me power like that, unless he changed my heart, I wouldn't be able to I would not be able to not take action on the things that I see around me and just help people. I'd want to destroy the wickedness that I believe is wickedness before me. But that's not the heart and nature of God. God wants to help others. He gave his only Son. God wants to change their heart, wants to give them a chance until their time has come, until they finally do die. Jesus let them people live. And those same Pharisees, they killed him. And then they killed Stephen. And then after they killed Stephen, they began to kill his best friends. And I can't understand naturally why Jesus didn't do something about this, because he knew the time would come. He even told them that the time will come that they'll kill you in my name, because they don't know me or my Father. And he could have easily spoken a word and wiped out them people that killed Stephen later on. Stephen, he was standing there in front of them, and they gnashed on him with their teeth. And then they rushed him out of the city and stoned him to death. Jesus knew full well that this was going to happen. He told his disciples it was going to happen. But he chose to give everything. Instead of use that power that he was giving to destroy them, he chose to use that power that he was given to give his life, to cleanse us of our sins, so that he may show us the way to God, that he may show us how to live, that he may show us what to say in the face of adversity, to show us so much. And he has been there as a symbol, as a true hero throughout the last 2,000 years. And so little people have actually looked at him and decided, hey, he's my hero. But the ones that have, you will see it in their life. And they become true heroes. Some of them, God does raise them up to be warriors. Some of them, like Joan of Arc or George Washington, or they become warriors. But other people like George Washington Carver, he became an inventor. Or other people, I can't name them all or think of them right now, but each person that has followed Jesus, that has truly made Jesus their hero, has seen and become like Jesus throughout their life. And everybody knows who they are. You look back through history and people are like, yeah, they knew God. And now the people say that, they'll try to deny it, try to debunk it in some way or some way or form, but it's an undeniable truth. So most of the time we ignore it. But Jesus was a true hero. And I just want to put that out, because it's been something that's been burning in my own heart, that Jesus is my hero. Jesus is my everything. And I want to be like him, to give it all. I want to use the power and the knowledge and the understanding that he's given to me, not for the destruction of my enemies, even though I don't have any enemies, or the destruction of the evil, but for the bringing about of the saving of the soul, of your soul, if you're watching, the bringing about the saving of your soul, that you may know God and Jesus on a personal, true level. And that is my desire, just as Jesus was Jesus' desire, that you may know God. So I challenge you, because all my sermons I challenge you to look at Jesus, to read his life. If you never have before, find a Bible. Read Jesus' life. Read the words that he spoke. Look at the situation of the time. Look at the people that were against him. Look at the corruptness of Rome. Look at all this, and look at the power that Jesus wielded, and decide who is the true hero. I challenge you to look to see who the true hero is. The fake heroes of today, or Jesus. And then I challenge you to choose the hero you want to be like. Who will be your role model? Who will be your children's role model? Who do you want your children to worship? Because believe it or not, when they watch these superheroes, they worship them, even though they're fake. But who do you want them to worship? Who do you want to worship? Who do you want to mold your life after? I just want you to think about that. That's all I have to say.